All right. Hi, welcome. My name is Michelle McKenzie. I'm a care services coordinator for New York City at ALS United Greater New York. I'm also the liaison for the James J. Peters Medical Center ALS Clinic that provides care to veterans with ALS. And so it's my pleasure today to be able to introduce Charlie Tocci, who is an Army veteran, having served from 2001 to 2006. He's been employed as a veteran service officer with the Paralyzed Veterans of America, assisting veterans to apply for VA benefits for nearly 13 years. Charlie will be sharing information regarding PVA's representation, the power of attorney, required paperwork to process to get started. He will also discuss eligibility for ALS service connection, compensation, VA healthcare, and assorted ancillary benefits. Thank you so much for being here today, Charlie. And with that, I will let you start the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen with the presentation. Make sure we get this correct here. And hopefully that is visible on everyone's screen, and we'll start the slideshow. So again, my name is Charlie Tocci. I'm with the Paralyzed Veterans of America. I'm at the Syracuse VA Medical Center. I've been with PVA for coming up on 13 years now. Um, it's been a pleasure and joy in this position, assisting veterans. I'm a spinal cord patient here as well, um, and involved with the VA as treatment as a patient as well. So PVA has given me a wealth of knowledge and training. Hopefully, everyone can take a little bit from this presentation. So, as Michelle said, we will be doing a presentation as far as benefits start to finish, as far as what paperwork's required, the steps that we're going to take, requirements for eligibility, and so on and so forth, to include some of the ancillary benefits. So with that, we will jump right in. So as far as service connection, there's three primary eligibility requirements for service connection for ALS. It's covered under the regulation 3.318. But what we're going to focus on is not so much the VA regulations as it is what's required to meet to file. So first and foremost, we need the definitive diagnosis of ALS. And to touch on that real quick, it is diagnostic code G1221. As most of you may have experienced, diagnosing ALS is lengthy and difficult. As service officers, we can't file a claim without a definitive diagnosis. So when there's probable or more likely than not a diagnosis, it's not a definitive diagnosis. So VA does require that. So a form of a statement from your neurologist or doctor saying that it is a confirmed diagnosis is sufficient, or any other evidence showing confirmed diagnosis. It's 90 days of consecutive of active duty service. And we're going to touch on this a little bit more because there's a misconception when you have a veteran with active duty for training, so a reservist and National Guard, the time in basic training and AIT or your training does not count as active duty service. It's actually active duty for training. There are ways, I say, around this that we file claims for to establish active duty. So if you don't have active duty, if you didn't serve active duty, please, please, please do not think you're not eligible. Contact a PVA service officer. This is where our expertise does come in. We'll be able to assist you with that. And then finally, being discharged from the military with anything but a dishonorable discharge. So again, touching on the active duty for 90 days. And going back to, so veterans who did serve the reserves or National Guard don't meet the actual requirement for active duty. So, but again, it does not mean that you're not eligible for service connection for ALS. We just need to develop the claim in a different way. And it's still, if we're unable to establish the service connection for ALS, it doesn't mean you're not eligible for other benefits. So I've been able to for a veteran who didn't meet that 90-day requirement, still get service connection for some other disability. They're not going to get service connected for ALS because of that 90-day active duty rule, but does create eligibility for hospital benefits. which, as you all probably have witnessed and go through, the hospital benefits through the VA can be just fantastic as far as the equipment that they provide, medication management, and so on and so forth. So again, we do encourage anyone who is questions whether or not they're eligible for service connection to still continue to work with a service officer to see what benefits they are eligible or you are eligible for. So now it's time for development of the claim. And I'm going to run through these forms just because they're important for the veteran, but more so for us. Because what we're going to do is when we take power of attorney with so number one, the VA form 2122 is power of attorney. This is usually the form that we get the most questions about. This is a limited power of attorney. This is only for VA. So what it allows us as a service officer to do is act on your behalf. I am not a VA employee. I work for our client, would be the veteran. So when we take power of attorney for the veteran, we are your we are responsible for you, and assisting you and advocating for you the best that we can. So the power of attorney allows us to submit, sign certain forms on your behalf, have access to your claim file, your VA claim file, and also speak to any VA medical professional. So I'm in upstate New York at Syracuse. So we have a non-VA hospital upstate, just down the street from us. Being that as a non-VA hospital, I am not legally able to speak to them or they speak to me with this power of attorney. That would be a violation of HIPAA. But the neurologist down the hall from me, being a VA employee, as long as I have power of attorney, I can legally speak to them and they can legally speak to me about your care, condition, and so on and so forth. So that's the first piece of paperwork that we do need that is required for us to be your advocate. The other forms that we're going to need is your discharge. So DD 214 or NGB Form 22. So these are your discharge forms, which are going to show, at least provide us a lot of information to determine whether how we develop the claim for eligibility as far as active duty service. This also speeds the claim process along with the VA since we're providing them the evidence that they require. And then we touched on this before. We need the DBQ, which is a disability benefits questionnaire. This is basically an evaluation of severity of your condition, touching on just various symptoms, upper, lower extremities, speech, swallowing, and so on and so forth. But again, what we're looking for are notes, medical notes with the EMG and the ALS diagnosis, partially for the claim, but also to provide the VA if they don't have it to speed that enrollment process, which brings us to number four. So the 1010 EZ. I recommend doing this online. It's the fastest way to do it, and then it ensures your application is submitted and received by the VA. Then they will contact to establish primary care. The 526 is the actual form for the claim, so application for compensation. Again, we'll assist you through this. The 686 is to add any dependents, so spouse or children under 18, or if you have kids that are going to school, to going to college, up to 23 to 26 years old, depending on eligibility. The 0845 is important as well. So this will allow a family member to speak to the VA on your behalf, or vice versa. Then we have the application for the auto grant, the adaptive housing grant, and then application for CHAMP VA. And we're going to discuss those three in more detail moving forward. What's important about this is that with our ability to advocate for you, we're going to prepare all of these forms for you. Technology is great now and assists us in a lot of ways, specifically signing forms. So we can complete these forms and prepare them. We email them in a link for you to digitally sign. So it allows you to just type your name or draw with your finger and sign these forms, and it automatically returns them back to us. So we're not mailing applications. You don't have to print them. You don't have to save them. You just need access to your email and sign them. But we will assist you with all of these forms and explain them in detail, or if you have any questions, that we can discuss them further. So as far as the benefits, so now we've submitted the claim and we've gotten the rating decision. And as far as the timeliness for these, PVA has a great relationship with the VA as far as the regional office and the raters. We submit these to a person, not just to the cloud to be wait for. Service connection, if we have all of the paperwork, usually is established within a couple days to a week to maybe 2 weeks. And they can establish that service connection immediately. And then again, you'll still be examined with a CMP exam, which is a compensation and pension exam to evaluate your disability. But VA will grant your 100% based solely on diagnosis, as long as those three criteria are met that we discussed before. So again, service connection for ALS is 100% based on diagnosis alone. The VA rating scale is not 0 to 100. It's actually A to R. It's a big misconception by most veterans as far as understanding the service connection rates. Most veterans will say, I am 100%, I maxed out. That is not true. If we look at the compensation rates, you'll see this. And again, as I have underlined, VA compensation is tax-free, so you don't have to claim this on any of your tax reports or IRS. So at 100% for a single veteran is $3,938.58 per month. With a spouse, it's a little bit more, so $41.58. If you have additional children, we can add those, which will increase the rate as well. So now we're talking as ALS is a progressive disease, which unfortunately will worsen. We are constantly communicating with our clients to discuss their condition to see if they're eligible for increases. So at the 100% rate, again, it's at $4,000. We don't want any veteran at the R1 or R2 rate. It's very progressive as far as loss of use and need for aid and attendance and skilled care. That said, unfortunately, certain disabilities or injuries will progress to that point, but we want to make sure that the veteran is compensated appropriately, so we're filing those claims. So you can see the difference of 100% at 4,000 and someone who's maxed out at R2 at 11,000. So, and there's scales in between that that we will continuously file for. And again, that is where we come in as a service officer to, one, file the claim, get the rating decision, review the evaluation, review the rating decision to make sure it is accurate to the evaluation. We discuss this with our client and explain why this is granted, or if we disagree with it, we'll take the opportunity to file whatever appeal is needed on your behalf to VA to argue a higher service connection that should have been warranted. So as far as service connection for benefits through the hospital, you're going to be eligible for all of these, but these are the tiers for them. So 30%. So if you are traveling for any sort of appointments that are ordered by the VA, you will get travel reimbursement. At 30%, you can add your dependent, and then you have voc rehab. There's going to be no copays at the 50% level, which again, all of these you're going to be you meet the criteria for at the 100% rate. Also entitled to VA contracted nursing home. So if you are disabled and unable to stay home and wish to be housed at a skilled nursing facility or rehab facility, something to that nursing home, VA does have a list of contracted facilities that they will pay for. So it's not something you have to pay out of pocket for. They have the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. So this is the caregiver program. What this does is it pays your caregiver, whomever that may be. Most common is your spouse, but pays your caregiver, your whoever that family member is, as a caregiver on a monthly stipend. There's an application. We'll discuss this again moving forward. Additional 100% service connection benefits is dental through the VA, and then the federal loan forgiveness. Also is the Education Assistance Program, Chapter 35 for dependent education. So again, some to expand on some of the benefits through the VA healthcare. Once service connected, the exemption for copays is for any prescription medication for your ALS, but also any or all other conditions. So if you have headaches and you get prescribed Tylenol by the VA will cover it. So it's for service-connected and non-service connected disabilities. So essentially free healthcare through the VA for any sort of prescription medication. There's no copays for any appointments or any equipment that's provided by the VA. So VA will measure you for a wheelchair for a primary and a backup. So this does include power wheelchairs. So these are quite fancy chairs, considering what they all can do and the various needs of veterans with their different disabilities or abilities to operate the wheelchair. Other devices that the VA will prescribe are portable Hoyer lift or ceiling lifts, and also stair glides. They will attach a ramp or a vertical platform lift to the front of your home or back of your home to get in your house. Grab bars, shower chairs, raised toilet seats, bidets. Again, this is all through prosthetics through the VA, and then any other approved medical device, equipment, prescriptions. So again, these are all determined by your provider, whether it's the physical or occupational therapist putting in the recommendation, any of your other physicians that are supporting or recommending any of these devices. So VA will also offer and approve home health aides depending on your condition. So there's a form for this to calculate the number of hours. So again, depends on your need of care. Also the availability of staff. This has become a more common issue since COVID. Um, so even if VA does approve, say, 40 hours a week for home health aides, and there's an agency in your area that is contracted, but they don't have the staff. So even though VA approves 40 hours, and there may not be staff available through that facility or agency to provide it. And that's just unfortunate, but um, can't really be avoided. They do have other options, again, for this with Vet Direct Pay or Vet Direct Care. Again, kind of going down a little bit deeper rabbit hole but again, would be discussed with the social worker at your VA hospital. So again, VA could pay for the long-term care, so nursing home, skilled nursing facility, or at a contracted facility. If you wish to not go to if you wish to pick your own facility that is not contracted by VA, you are more than welcome to, but it will be, you will have to be responsible to pay for that. This was just newly approved, the Elizabeth Dole Home Care Act. This is a fantastic thing that VA did have a lot of involvement with, but will now pay up to the 100% of the cost of home care services. This used to be, I believe, 66% of what would essentially cost the for a nursing home. So if it exceeded that, VA would say you require a nursing home because it would be cheaper. Now they will pay for that 100% cost. And the reason for this, we veterans, we want to stay home. We want to stay with our loved ones and be comfortable in our own home. So this will hopefully allow, or at least give some more flexibility to do so. So moving on to the specially adaptive housing program. So these are some of the ancillary benefits that are granted along with compensation for ALS. So the form, again, is something we would assist with getting signed and submitted on your behalf. The amount for SAH is $126,526. So you can use this up to 6 times. So for simple math, you can use $20,000 6 times, or you can use the entire 126,000 on one project. 126,000 on 1 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 project. So if there are any remaining portions and you fully modified your home, you can use the remaining portion to pay off your mortgage. If in a year, if you have any remaining dollars, say if you have $1 remaining and the following year it increases $20,000, well, now you have $20,001 if you have remaining uses. So as the SAH does increase with cost of living, if you have remaining funds, again, you must have at least $1 remaining, and the SAH increases, you will be authorized that additional dollars. So essentially, when we do this, we file the form. You'll be assigned an adaptive housing agent. These are the specialists that are going to walk you through all this. I encourage every veteran who is eligible for adaptive housing to use it immediately. The sooner you start, the better off you will be. Even if you don't need the modifications, adaptations to your home now, it's not if, it will be when. So I encourage everyone to start this if they have not, to meet with their agent or discuss with your service officer to get this moving forward. It's a great grant, but it is a very complex one as far as paperwork and communication back and forth with both the agent and your contractor. So the money will go directly from VA to the contractor or the mortgage company. You, as the veteran, will not see this money. Finding a contractor is probably one of the other biggest complications or obstacles for this because it is a complex grant. Most contractors may not choose to work with you. So that is one of those other complications and reasons to encourage veterans to start sooner rather than later. So VMLI, Veterans Mortgage Life Insurance. So you must start adaptive housing a project and get conditional approval. It covers up to $200,000 of the mortgage. It's not free. There is a monthly premium as far as eligibility. Cannot have reached 70th birthday. So the effective date of ALS may be an exception to this condition as well. Again, this is more often discussed with your agent, and they should be discussing this with you if you are eligible and meet that criteria. So if you don't own your home, so that's one of the requirements for adaptive housing is that you own your home. If you don't own your home and you want to, say, moved in with a brother, sister, son, daughter, what have you, you can do the TRA, so temporary residence adaptation. So this is monies similar to the adaptive housing program, same process, but again, it's not your home. And the funding for this is just under 51,000. So the HISA or HISA, Home Improvement Structural Alteration Grant, this is through the VA hospital. So this is applied for, you must talk to your primary care. You get a consult for HISA and you let them know what you want to do. The most common modification or alteration that this is used for is your bathroom or shower primarily. So for a tub to a walk-in shower. Um, and it's the easiest one. It's faster than the adaptive housing one because there's local through your VA. The amount is $6,800. This is one in a lifetime benefit. PVA is trying to increase this amount, but we were waiting to get that approved. But again, you can use it multiple times. If you use $2,000, you have $4,800 remaining, and you can use it multiple times as long as you still have funds remaining. This one, again, is more for modifications, not towards so it can't be used towards the mortgage. So this is actually paid from the VA to the veteran and dispersed to the contractor. Essentially, once you have the work completed, you submit pictures of the completed work to the VA, they review it, and then they finish up with repayment. Moving on to the auto grant. So as far as the form, you get a certified form from the VA that approves the grant. This is essentially the check. That is the grant. The amount currently is just over 27,000. This is eligible every 10 years after your first year use. So if you use it today, in 10 years, you'd be eligible for a second auto grant. Um, there's also the 1394 for reimbursement. Um, Again, this is a great grant. This one is much faster. There's just a very clear process for this. You must meet with the VA first. And we discuss this with all veterans. We say, do not go buy a vehicle and go, Charlie, I bought a vehicle. Here's my 4502. Reimburse me $27,000. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You need to be approved for that. There's a process to get that started. But for all the equipment and modifications for a vehicle, you work with the driver's training rep, and this is for both driver and or passenger. Regardless if you're a passenger for a van and unable to drive, you still need to go through driver's training. It's just called driver's rehabilitation training. The purpose for this is to measure you in the wheelchair and make sure that the modifications for the van are appropriate for you. Some veterans are taller or shorter, so they may need a larger lift or drop in the floor. And again, all of these are prescriptions. So the ramp, the lockdowns, all these are technically prescriptions. So VA needs to approve these. It's just like Tylenol. So once VA approves them, then they can pay for them. So here's an example because most veterans come to me going, Charlie, I can't afford this. 27,000 off of 95,000 is too much for me to afford. I wholly, completely agree. But that's not how this is broken down. So normally a brand new, we'll say Toyota Sienna, beautiful van, is going to cost around $40,000. The adaptive equipment is roughly $50,000 to $60,000, so 55. So you're going to see a sticker price of 95,000. So that's how it's broken down. Now the VA is going to pay all of the adaptive equipment. So the AAE is auto adaptive equipment. So all of that cost is covered by the hospital. So now you have $40,000 remaining. That 27,000 is deducted from the 40, and then you're going to be responsible for that just under 13,000. So 13,000 from 95,000. Now, these dealerships do have used vehicles, used vans with low miles. Veterans do trade in vehicles often. So you might be able to find one that is, say, $30,000. So if it's 10,000 less than this scenario, so $30,000 plus the 55, that 27 would be deducted from the 30. Now you're only responsible for $3,000. So again, it does make the ability to afford a very expensive but required and needed handicap accessible van much more accommodating. Clothing allowance. So if you do have a prosthetic equipment that impairs, wears, and tears your clothing, i.e., a wheelchair, a brace of some sort, you are eligible for clothing allowance. This is filed to, we can do this with you, or you can file this with your local VA. Excuse me. This will be filed with the prosthetics department at the hospital that you receive your equipment. It must be received by August 1st of before the year. VA has streamlined this, thankfully. So once you are approved for your clothing allowance, it's reoccurring. So once you apply and are approved for it the first time, you don't have to apply again. Every August, within the first 2 weeks of August, you'll get that deposit. So as of right now, the clothing allowance is $1,053.19. And you can have multiple clothing allowances. So if you do have, say, a wheelchair for, you're claiming lower extremities involvement, and then say some sort of brace on your arm. There's also So again, prescribe the wheelchair, orthotic device. If there's approved ointments and creams that can also stain and impact the clothing, those would be eligible as well. So VA life insurance, this is newer. So VA life is what it's called now. Again, they've streamlined this online. You can find the rates at these two websites. It's basically 10, 20, 30, or $40,000, and it is based on your age. What your medical condition is does not apply. Um, but you can find the information on the VA Life at that as well to get more information. So Champ VA. Champ VA is for dependents, for any spouse or any other dependent children. That's the application form, the 1010D, the 7959C. So OHI stands for other health insurance. So if you do have other health insurance, you do need to report this on the application and send in pictures of the cards. If you're a retiree and eligible for TRICARE, you are not eligible for Champ VA because you're already established with TRICARE. So this is a secondary insurance. So it's again, your primary insurance would be charged, then Champ VA would kick in after that. Champ VA is a very large program. For more information, I do encourage you to contact Champ VA directly with specific questions. Our specialty and skill set is eligibility for Champ VA. We can assist with Champ VA. If you do call, please set aside some time and have speakerphone. The usual length to wait is quite a bit. So set aside some time if you do have Champ VA related questions or issues for them. Again, there is a website. You can just Google Champ VA and they'll take you right to the VA website. So as far as the DEA, Dependents Education Assistance, that is the form, the 5490. This is for dependents that are going to college, so spouse and or kids. And they can apply, and this is a monthly stipend dependent on the credit hours. So if they're quarter, half, or full time, that is going to adjust the rate that's paid directly to that dependent. So we did touch on the caregiver program. As far as this is concerned, this is one of the newer programs that's expanded. 70% service connection, which again is already established with the service connection for ALS. As far as a caregiver, must be 18, a family member, or live with the veteran, and they must provide and arrange and manage your care. So as far as the benefits, the monthly stipend, so it's based on the care needs. It's health insurance, travel reimbursement, mental health counseling. So there's two different stipends, 1 and 2, 2 being the higher. So as far as eligibility for stipend 1, it's required assistance with at least one activity of daily living, which might be bathing, dressing, toileting, eating, that kind of stuff. There's a list of these to be eligible for. So must have meet one of those. For stipend 2, it's 3 or more. So there is an interview process for this with both the veteran and your caregiver. So they must, they'll interview both. So this is going to be applied for at your VA facility. And this can also be done online as well. So New York State benefits. As far as property tax exemption, New York State came out with a law that was quickly rescinded and rewritten. So currently, it's based on your service connection percentage, period of service, and if you were active, if you were deployed. So for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I'm 100% service connected. So it's half of your service connection, which is 50. I was in during Gulf War, OIF, OEF, so that's another 15%, and I was deployed to Afghanistan, so another 10%. So my exemption is 75%, the 50, the 15, and the 10. So this is going to change. They're rewriting the law, and it's expected to be effective in October of this year. We'll see. But essentially, this will be a full 100% exemption for property tax only. So not school tax, but property tax. And so I would contact your town assessor to see what's required. But most likely you'll just need a copy of a code sheet or your tax abatement letter, which is your summary of benefits letter that's sent every December. Again, your service officer can access this for you. You'll probably need a copy of your DD 214, and then you apply for this with your town assessor prior to March 1st. There is vehicle registration exemption. There's a form for that to provide and complete with your dealer. Same thing with the Easy Pass exemption for vehicles purchased using the auto grant. DIC, this is an important topic. It's a very unfortunate topic, but very important topic that should be covered. So in the event a veteran passes away due to a service-connected or service-related disability, a dependent may be eligible for DIC. So this is a spousal type compensation when a veteran does pass away. When we represent a veteran, we offer power of attorney to any of the family members that we can assist, primarily being a spouse. And we will treat that spouse as if they are the veteran, they are our client in general. We take power of attorney for the spouse. We assist the spouse with all of their benefits as far as filing getting the forms prepared, getting them signed, submitting them to VA, reviewing the claim, discussing the claim, and so on and so forth. So a client of ours is a client, no matter what, if it's spinal cord related, ALS, MS, doesn't matter, or just dependent. As far as compensation, currently it's we'll say $1,700 per month. There are additional benefits if the dependent does require aid and attendance, if they're housebound, or if there are additional children under the age of 18. So that really summarizes or gives at least a summary of service connection for ALS, what's required, some of the forms, and some of the ancillary benefits. And I am open to field any questions that anyone has.
All right. Thank you so much. That was really comprehensive and honestly a wonderful presentation because it does get very detailed. So Charlie, I have a few questions for you. Oh, thank you. Thanks for
Yep.
that information. And anybody wants to contact the PVA in their area, Amaris is at the Bronx VA, and Manhattan and Syracuse. But Charlie, that was really fantastic. And I do have a couple questions for you.
Absolutely, yes.
So 90 days eligibility for active duty, that's Army, Navy, Air Force, right? So what about if you're in the Coast Guard, National Guard, or Army Reserves?
So yes, we usually get a lot of questions, or some veterans will just instinctively think, I don't have active duty service, I was a reservist, I don't apply, I don't qualify. To not get into the real detailed explanation for this, what we essentially do is everyone is exposed to some sort of noise exposure, loud noise while during their training. So active duty for training during boot camp or what have you. Essentially, what we're trying to do is establish service connection during that period of time. Once service connection is established for a different disability, so most common we use tinnitus, which is ringing of the ears. If we were able to develop a claim and get tinnitus established as service connection, now that period of time is considered active duty. So that day 1 to 100 of active duty for training, boot camp, and so on, is now established as active duty, now qualifies or satisfies the requirement for ALS. This is again where PVA service officers is in our expertise and to develop and file for. So different things can be established. And again, having that 90 days, our 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 main goal is to get every veteran who's diagnosed with ALS service connected for ALS. Is that feasible 100% of the time? No, unfortunately.
Okay.
But like we say in the previous slide, if a veteran has 89 days of active duty service, which unfortunately I have experienced, they may not qualify with that 90 days, but we can still establish service connection to get them enrolled in the VA to get treatment for their ALS. So that'll be cost effective for a lot of their benefits, or at
Okay.
least prescription and medical coverage.
That's great. And sometimes I meet with veterans who can't find their discharge paperwork, their DD 214. So if they
Yes.
can't find their paperwork, how do you assist?
So we can do it a couple ways. Once we have power of attorney, we will have access to the claim file. Does that mean the DD 214 will be in there? No. It is usually a veteran's claim file is empty until they file a claim. So we have one of two ways to go about this. There's an SF 180, which is a request standard form. I think that's what the SF stands for, but it goes to the NPRC, the National Personnel Records and Archives in St. Louis. This can also be done online. I had a veteran, I was assisting with Service Connection, and they didn't have their DD 214. They contacted NPRC online. They emailed him his entire personnel records, service records with the DD 214 within 2 days. Is the DD 214 absolutely required? No. It is VA's obligation and duty to assist to secure this when we file a claim. We just prefer to develop the claim and have it in hand so we know what we're developing. So we can wait for the DD 214. When we submit the power of attorney, we submit an intent to file, which is a placeholder for a claim. So it's good for up to a year. So we'd rather develop, depending on how straightforward the claim is, we may not wait and just file the claim. If there's more development needed, we'll probably submit the intent, get the information we require or need or prefer to have, and then submit later. But the intent to file will be a placeholder for the claim. So we do have ways to get that SF 180. Most common, if you Google the NPRC or National Archives, there's a link there to request your DD 214 and other military records. And very responsive if you call, and they usually get back really quickly with a PDF of the discharge paperwork.
Great, thank you. Does a veteran's financial situations make them eligible or ineligible for certain things? And if they have other insurances, does it make them not eligible to receive some of these services?
Absolutely not. So as far as personal income as for Social Security, so veterans who are service connected still eligible for Social Security. Whatever your other outside income is moot. VA does not care or ask or request anything about income. The VA hospital might, but again, service connection makes any of the income again moot. So yeah, and limited or excessive income is not applicable for service connection.
Okay, great. And if a veteran in our area, we have the Bronx VA, which is a certified ALS clinic, but not all veterans are close to a VA that has that. So if a veteran isn't close to that clinic or just can't travel there, even if they're in our area, is it required to be seen by the VA to receive any of these services?
Not necessarily, no. So the VA will do consults to community care. So I'll use Buffalo, for example. They don't have an on-staff neurologist. So a lot of veterans are referred to Dent Neurological. And that's all paid for by the VA. So the VA, um, any consult that's requested appointment approved by the VA is going to pay for. And then any of the equipment, again, that's recommended by that outside provider is going to be paid for by the VA.
Okay, wonderful. And so if I have ALS and I'm a veteran and I get compensation, the compensation changes as my needs increase, right? So it starts at a lower amount, and as I become more disabled, the compensation increases. How do I go about getting that compensation to increase?
Excellent question. So, with PVA, we have what we call QMIs and AMIs. So, for our spinal cord population, we do AMIs, which is an annual member interview. For veterans with ALS, because of the nature of the disability and progression, we call them QMIs, so quarterly member interviews. Um, my kind of spiel with whenever I meet with a newly diagnosed or new client of PVA with ALS is we are going to contact you every 3 months, no matter what. So my 3 month discussion is going to be, do we have updated contact information for you? That's the quick 5 minutes. And then how is your condition? So, and we will have a discussion. We'll first review what is your condition as far as service connected, and then what's your current condition. And we also, but prior to that call or during the call, are going to be reviewing the veteran's medical records. So we'll be seeing what's documented as far as does veteran have a peg tube placement? So that would qualify for skilled daily care. Is veteran now non-ambulatory? Do they wheelchair bound? Do they require aid and attendance? So we go through that interview every 3 months. We encourage veterans, do not wait the 3 months for us to call you. We are at your disposal. Again, I work for the client. So if they have any questions and say, hey, I know we just talked a month ago, but my condition has progressed. I'm no longer ambulatory. I need more services. Do I qualify? And then we can go through that process. We work with the providers. So the neurologist here at Syracuse or their primary care here, I can send an application for aid and attendance. It's a 4 page summary of benefits, which the providers don't mind completing. The other one is about 13 pages, so they don't like completing that one as much. But we can get that evidence and do a review. Does it always result in an increase? No. We can only argue what the evidence supports. But as far as when that veteran does require an increase, we are going to file that claim for that veteran, whether we contact them and determine an increase is needed, or they're contacting us. Uh, in general, just even if it's just about, hey, Charlie, I have a question about the auto grant. Okay. Well, once we address that, how are you doing? It's been a month or two since we spoke, and how's your condition? And go through that.
Okay, great. Charlie, so this is being recorded and other people will watch this. So of course, our area covers a part of New York and northern New Jersey. The PVA is national, right? So all of the information that you provided, except for the slide that was specific to the New York property taxes and Easy Pass, everything else is the same for veterans nationwide.
Absolutely. The only other things that might change is the caregiver program stipends. That is based on location. So that would be different. So again, cost of living being higher in certain areas. So that would be impacted. But as far as compensation, that is across the board a federal rate. So that's
Yeah.
state-wise does not apply.
Even in our area, actually, the number of hours that are covered sometimes does change by area. Even like Long Island to New York City, there is a difference. So that does
Mm.
change by location, but there is some money available based on a certain amount of hours. So, um, one other question is the newly approved Elizabeth uh, Dole Act, which I'm really excited to see that that was
Yes.
passed. But how they access reimbursement, and does it only apply since it only recently was passed? Like, is there any backdating for veterans who have been paying out of pocket who couldn't get a home health aide in their area, so they've been paying out of their funds? Is there any backdating to that?
From my understanding, no. For most any law, it's usually once the law is passed, it's effective as of that date. I encourage anyone who has questions about if they're eligible for additional care hours, speak with your social worker. Social worker is going to be your probably most important point of contact at the VA hospital, specifically when it comes to home health aides and care hours, vet direct pay, that kind of stuff.
Okay, but is that act, do you know, is it in a reimbursement situation? So currently, if it's been passed now and they've been paying out of pocket, like is it reimbursement where the veteran shows they've paid this money and they get reimbursed, or they have to be registered to start getting some funds that way? Do you know?
I think they still need to be approved for it. So again, working with the social workers, until the number of hours are approved, that's when that goes into effect. So I think it would be the date of the application, but I can get some more information on that.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I'm really looking forward to being
Yeah.
able to access that as well. There's so many grants that there's so many questions. So, this the special adaptive housing grant,
Yep.
um, it can be used toward the mortgage if there's still money remaining. But my question is, does the veteran still need to be alive, or can that be done after the veteran passes away? Can the spouse still access that, or does the process have to start before the veteran passes?
Yeah. So with a SAH, I know enough to get me in trouble about SAH. I encourage everyone to discuss with their agent specific questions, but for that question specifically, as far as adaptive housing, there's MPRs, minimum property requirements. So there are certain modifications that must be made before something else can be done that's not mandatory. So one of the mandatory modifications is two forms of ingress and egress into your home. If one way is blocked and God forbid you have a fire, you need to have a secondary route to get out of the house. And that primary ingress egress is going to be where the veteran sleeps. So that's going to be one of the requirements. There's various other ones, but those need to be met first before say, hey, I want to do this deck on the outside or something that I want to pave the driveway because it's stone, something to that effect. So there are NPRs that do need to be met. When the veteran passes, if the veteran passes away, there's the SAH grant is at that point no longer accessible. Um, the veteran, again, for the payoff for the mortgage, it can't be, hey, I have this home, I have $100,000 of mortgage remaining, I want to pay it off. You still need to meet certain those minimum property requirements prior to being eligible for that mortgage payoff as well. So the home does need to be fully modified to SAH's standards as far as meeting the NPRs before that mortgage payoff is allowable or eligible for it.
I see. Okay. And
Yeah.
and there's no age requirement for that. Like that's okay if the veteran is over 70 for that.
Yeah, so regardless of age for application and using SAH, age is not a factor. Um, Again, it's just mostly just meeting those minimum requirements of veteran owns the home, and getting that paperwork, and you have a suitable contractor. Contractors are one of the biggest obstacles with this program.
Yes, and you have to get three. Don't you have to get three quotes?
There is a waiver for that. Thank goodness they've adopted that. But yes, it's encouraged to get three quotes because you're not sure if you have a good quote or a bad quote without comparison to others. Unfortunately, again, contractors are sparse. The adaptive housing program is fantastic, but very difficult. There's a lot of back and forth paperwork. The SAH actually falls under ADA requirements, American Disabilities Act requirements. Probably one of the most stringent or difficult modifications is the bathroom. The size bathroom that is required is very difficult to modify without extending. Most veterans will use the SAH grant and put an addition on their home if they have the property around it. So, and that's usually my recommendation for veterans is if you have an upstairs bedroom, that kind of stuff, if you have the room And the easeability of this is also you're keeping everyone out of your house. You're not having noise and clutter, dust, and what have you. So they put an addition on your home, first floor master bedroom with a bathroom. And then the last thing they do is cut a door out into the main home. So now you have residents first floor. From your bedroom, they'll put on a patio type deal. So now you have ingress, egress outside of your room, your bedroom, which again makes the process a little bit easier in certain cases. Not all houses are built the same. So it really does depend on your location and your home.
All right, we're coming to the end of our time, but because I cover New York City, a lot of my veterans don't necessarily have homes, they have an apartment. So if it's not possible, maybe they have a walk-up apartment. So if it's not possible to even modify that to the standards, how does PVA VA help with moving if I need to move and either rent someplace else or purchase? Is there any compensation for that?
So with the adaptive housing grant, if you're purchasing an accessible home, you can actually use the grant to purchase a home. So, and that's actually a little bit easier of a process because you can work with your realtor to get the layout schematics, blueprints of the home. And if the home is say a ranch style home with widened doorways and meets all the minimum requirements, you can technically use your SAH grant to pay down your or to purchase a home.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. And then the PVA representative will help with the paperwork to get that. So that needs to be started before I start looking for a home, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we would submit the 4555 to adaptive housing. You'd get your agent assigned, and then you would work with the veteran would work with the agent to say, hey, I'm interested in purchasing a home. These are the homes I'm looking at. Do these qualify? And then either veteran can purchase the home and use the adaptive housing grant after, or they can use the adaptive housing grant during that purchase as well.
Okay, so in the last 2 minutes, I still even have questions. So if the veteran passes away, does the spouse still have access to you to be able to assist them, or does that relationship end?
No, no, no. We continue that relationship very, very, very strongly and immediately. So we ask that the veteran or the spouse, upon a veteran passing away, please contact us at your convenience. I will usually wait at least 1 to 2 weeks to contact the vet in the event we are notified of a veteran passing. But we take power of attorney for the spouse and act as their representative as we did their loved one.
Okay,
Again,
that's wonderful to know.
yep. So we take power of attorney, which has access to the claim file and submission of all the claim paperwork as well.
And then the CHAM VA for the stipend for school for the spouse and
Continues.
child can continue. What if the paperwork
Absolutely.
wasn't started before the veteran passes?
Yes. So the upon a veteran passing away, the benefits for the spouse is going to be DIC, DEA, which is the education assistance, and then the service connected burial grant, which I did not put in there, but we would assist with the burial grant as well, which is up to $2,000 plus any transportation. And again, we assist the loved one with filing all that paperwork.
Charlie, this was a wealth of information. Thank you so much I've been the liaison for 8 years at the Bronx VA, and I'm learning things from you that are really going to be helpful to really assist our patients as well. And I'm sure, our PVA rep knows all this stuff, but I don't know all this stuff. So it's really also good to have the information to be able to explain it because it's a lot. It's comprehensive. So thank you
Yeah.
so much. And for everyone else who is still with us, our next one, please join us. It's at 11:45, and that is caring for yourself while caring for others. The presenter is Carmeletta Zandi. And Charlie, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.